Book 46, Manumission of Slaves. Narrated Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, whoever frees a Muslim slave, Allah will save all the parts of his body from hell fire as he was freed the body parts of the slave. Said bin Marjana said that he narrated that hadith to Ali bin al-Hussein, and he freed his slave for whom Abdullah bin Jafar had offered him 10,000 dirhams or 1,000 dinars. Narrated Abu Dar, I asked the Prophet, what is the best deed? He replied, to believe in Allah and to fight for his cause. I then asked, what is the best kind of manumission of slaves? He replied, the manumission of the most expensive slave and the most beloved by his master. I said, if I cannot afford to do that? He said, help the weak or do good for a person who cannot work for himself. I said, if I cannot do that? He said, refrain from harming others, for this will be regarded as a charitable deed for your own good. Narrated Isma bint Abu Bakr. The Prophet ordered us to free slaves at the time of solar eclipses. Narrated Isma bint Abu Bakr. We were ordered to free slaves at the time of lunar eclipses. Narrated Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, whoever manumits a slave owned by two masters, should manumit him completely, not partially, if he is rich after having its price evaluated. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar. Allah's apostle said, whoever frees his share of a common slave and he has sufficient money to free him completely, should let its price be estimated by a just man and give his partners the price of their shares and manumit the slave. Otherwise, that is if he has not sufficient money, he manumits the slave partially. Narrated Ibn Umar. Allah's apostle said, whoever manumits his share of a slave, then it is essential for him to get that slave manumitted completely as long as he has the money to do so. If he has not sufficient money to pay the price of the other shares, after the price of the slave is evaluated justly, the manumitted manumits the slave partially in proportion to his share. Narrated Ubaydullah, as above briefly. Narrated Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, he who manumits his share of a slave and has money sufficient to free the remaining portion of that slave's price, justly estimated, then he should manumit him, by giving the rest of his price to the other co-owners. Nafi added, otherwise the slave is partially free. Ayub is not sure whether the last statement was said by Nafi or it was a part of the hadith. Narrated Ibn Umar, that he used to give his verdict regarding the male or female slaves owned by more than one master, one of whom may manumit his share of the slave. Ibn Umar used to say in such a case, the manumitted should manumit the slave completely if he has sufficient money to pay the rest of the price of that slave, which is to be justly estimated, and the other shareholders are to take the price of their shares and the slave is freed, released from slavery. Ibn Umar narrated this verdict from the Prophet. Narrated Abu Hurairah, that the Prophet said, whoever frees his portion of a common slave. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, whoever frees his portion of a common slave should free the slave completely by paying the rest of his price from his money if he has enough money, otherwise the price of the slave is to be estimated and the slave is to be helped to work without hardship till he pays the rest of his price. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, Allah has accepted my invocation to forgive what whispers in the hearts of my followers, unless they put it to action or utter it. See Hadith number 657 Volume 8. Narrated Umar bin al-Khattab, the Prophet said, their reward of deeds depend on intentions, and every person will get the reward according to what he intends. So, whoever migrated for Allah and his apostle, then his migration will be for Allah and his apostle, and whoever migrated for worldly benefits or for marrying a woman, then his migration will be for what he migrated for. See Hadith number 1, Volume 1. Narrated Qais. When Abu Hurairah accompanied by his slave set out intending to embrace Islam, they lost each other on the way. The slave then came while Abu Hurairah was sitting with the Prophet. The Prophet said, O Abu Hurairah, your slave has come back. Abu Hurairah said, indeed, I would like you to witness that I have manumitted him. That happened at the time when Abu Hurairah recited the following poetic verse, what a long, tedious, tiresome night. Nevertheless, it has delivered us from the land of kufr, disbelief. Narrated Abu Hurairah, on my way to the Prophet I was reciting: what a long, tedious, tiresome night. Nevertheless, it has saved us from the land of kufr, disbelief. I had a slave who ran away from me on the way. When I went to the Prophet and gave the pledge of allegiance for embracing Islam, the slave showed up while I was still with the Prophet, who remarked, "O Abu Hurairah, here is your slave." I said, "I manumit him for Allah's sake," and so I freed him. Narrated Qais, when Abu Hurairah accompanied by his slave came intending to embrace Islam, they lost each other on the way. When the slave showed up, Abu Hurairah said to the Prophet, "I make you witness that the slave is free for Allah's cause." Narrated Aisha, Utbah bin Abi Waqqas authorized his brother Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas to take the son of the slave girl of Zama into his custody, telling him that the boy was his own, illegal, son. When Allah's apostle went to Mecca, at the time of the conquest, Sa'd took the son of the slave girl of Zama to Allah's apostle and also brought Abu bin Zama with him and said, "O Allah's apostle, this is the son of my brother Utbah who authorized me to take him into my custody." Abu bin Zama said, "O Allah's apostle, he is my brother, the son of Zama's slave girl, and he was born on his bed." Allah's apostle looked at the son of the slave girl of Zama and noticed much resemblance to Utbah. Allah's apostle said, "It is for you, O Abu bin Zama, as he was born on the bed of your father." Allah's apostle then told Sauda bin Zama to observe veil in the presence of the boy, as he noticed the boy's resemblance to Utbah, and Sauda was the wife of the Prophet. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, a man amongst us declared that his slave would be freed after his death. The Prophet called for that slave and sold him. The slave died the same year. Narrated Ibn Umar, Allah's apostle forbade the selling or donating the wallah of a freed slave. Narrated Aisha, I bought Barera, but her masters put the condition that her wallah would be for them. I told the Prophet about it. He said to me, "Manumit her, as her wallah will be for the one who pays the price." So, I manumitted her. The Prophet called Barera and gave her the option of either staying with her husband or leaving him. She said, "Even if he gave me so much money, I would not stay with him," and so she preferred her freedom to her husband. Narrated Anas, some men of the Ansar asked for the permission of Allah's apostle and said, "Allow us to give up the ransom from our nephew Al-Abbas." The Prophet said to them, "Do not leave even a dirham of his ransom." Narrated Hisham, my father told me that Hakim bin Hizam manumitted 100 slaves in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance and slaughtered 100 camels, and distributed them in charity. When he embraced Islam, he again slaughtered 100 camels and manumitted 100 slaves. Hakim said, I asked Allah's apostle, "O Allah's apostle, what do you think about some good deeds I used to practice in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance regarding them as deeds of righteousness?" Allah's apostle said, "You have embraced Islam along with all those good deeds you did." Narrated Marwan and Al-Miswar bin Makramah, when the delegates of the tribe of Hawazin came to the Prophet and they requested him to return their properties and captives, the Prophet stood up and said to them, "I have other people with me in this matter, as you see, and the most beloved statement to me is the true one. You may choose either the properties or the prisoners, as I have delayed their distribution." The Prophet had waited for them for more than 10 days since his arrival from Taif. So, when it became evident to them that the Prophet was not going to return them except one of the two, they said, "We choose our prisoners." The Prophet got up amongst the people and glorified and praised Allah as he deserved and said, "Then after, these brethren of yours have come to us with repentance, and I see it logical to return them the captives. So, whoever amongst you likes to do that as a favor, then he can do it, and whoever of you likes to stick to his share till we recompense him from the very first war booty which Allah will give us, then he can do so, that is, give up the present captives." The people unanimously said, "We do that, return the captives, willingly." The Prophet said, "We do not know which of you has agreed to it and which have not, so go back and let your leaders forward us your decision." So, all the people then went back and discussed the matter with their leaders, who returned and informed the Prophet that all the people had willingly given their consent to return the captives. This is what has reached us about the captives of Hawazin. Narrated Anas that Abbas said to the Prophet, I paid for my ransom and Akil's ransom. Narrated Ibn An, I wrote a letter to Nafi and Nafi wrote in reply to my letter that the Prophet had suddenly attacked Bani Muslik without warning while they were heedless and their cattle were being watered at the places of water. Their fighting men were killed and their women and children were taken as captives. The Prophet got Juwayriyah on that day. Nafi said that Ibn Ammar had told him the above narration and that Ibn Ammar was in that army. Narrated Ibn Muhayriz, I saw Abu Said and asked him about coitus interruptus. Abu Said said, we went with Allah's apostle, in the Ghazwa of Bali al-Mustalik and we captured some of the Arabs as captives, and the long separation from our wives was pressing us hard and we wanted to practice coitus interruptus. We asked Allah's apostle, whether it was permissible. He said, it is better for you not to do so. No soul, that which Allah has, destined to exist, up to the day of resurrection, but will definitely come, into existence. Narrated Abu Hurairah, I have loved the people of the tribe of Bani Tamim ever since I heard 3 things, Allah's apostle said about them. I heard him saying, these people, of the tribe of Bani Tamim, would stand firm against Ad-Dajjal. When the Sadaqat, gifts of charity, from that tribe came, Allah's apostle said, these are the Sadaqat, that is charitable gifts, of our folk. Aisha had a slave girl from that tribe, and the Prophet said to Aisha, Manumit she is a descendant of Ishmael. The Prophet. Narrated Abu Musa, Allah's apostle said, he who has a slave girl and educates and treats her nicely and then manumits and marries her, will get a double reward. Narrated Amr bin Su'd, I saw Abu Dar al-Ghifari wearing a cloak, and his slave, too, was wearing a cloak. We asked him about that is how both were wearing similar cloaks. He replied, once I abused a man and he complained of me to the Prophet. The Prophet asked me, did you abuse him by slighting his mother? He added, your slaves are your brethren upon whom Allah has given you authority. So, if one has one's brethren under one's control, one should feed them with the like of what one eats and clothe them with the like of what one wears. You should not overburden them with what they cannot bear, and if you do so, help them in their hard job. Narrated Ibn Ammar, Allah's apostle said, if a slave is honest and faithful to his master and worships his Lord, Allah, in a perfect manner, he will get a double reward. Narrated Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, the Prophet said, he who has a slave girl and teaches her good manners and improves her education and then manumits and marries her, will get a double reward, and any slave who observes Allah's right and his master's right will get a double reward. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle said, a pious slave gets a double reward. Abu Hurairah added, by him in whose hands my soul is but for jihad, that is holy battles, hajj, and my duty to serve my mother, I would have loved to die as a slave. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, goodness and comfort are for him who worships his Lord in a perfect manner and serves his master sincerely. Narrated Abdullah, the Prophet said, if a slave serves his Sayyid, that is master, sincerely and worships his Lord, Allah, perfectly, he will get a double reward. Narrated Abu Musa, the Prophet said, the Mamluk, slave, who worships his Lord in a perfect manner, and is dutiful, sincere and obedient to his Sayyid, master, will get a double reward. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, you should not say, feed your Lord, Rabbaika, help your Lord in performing ablution, or give water to your Lord, but should say, my master, for example feed your master instead of Lord etc., Sayyidi, or my guardian, Mawlai, and one should not say, my slave, Abdi, or my girl slave, Amati, but should say, my lad, Fatai, my lass, Fatati, and my boy, Gilami. Narrated Ibn Ammar, the Prophet said, if one manumits his share of a common slave, Abd, and he has money sufficient to free the remaining portion of the price of the slave, justly estimated, then he should free the slave completely by paying the rest of his price, otherwise the slave is freed partly. Narrated Abdullah, Allah's apostle said, every one of you is a guardian and is responsible for his charges. The The ruler who is authority over people, is a guardian and is responsible for them. A man is a guardian of his family and is responsible for them. A woman is a guardian of her husband's house and children and is responsible for them. A slave, Abu, is a guardian of his master's property and is responsible for it. So all of you are guardians and are responsible for your charges. Narrated Abu Hurairah and Zayd bin Khalid, the Prophet said, if a slave girl, Amma, commits illegal sexual intercourse, scourge her. If she does it again, scourge her again. If she repeats it, scourge her again. The narrator added that on the third or the fourth offense, the Prophet said, sell her even for a hair rope. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, when your servant brings your meals to you, then if he does not let him sit and share the meals, then he should at least give him a mouthful or 2 mouthfuls of that meal or a meal or 2 meals, as he has prepared it. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, that he heard Allah's Apostle saying, every one of you is a guardian and is responsible for his charge. The ruler is a guardian and is responsible for his subjects. The man is a guardian in his family and responsible for his charges. A woman is a guardian of her husband's house and responsible for her charges, and the servant is a guardian of his master's property and is responsible for his charge. I definitely heard the above from the Prophet and think that the Prophet also said, a man is a guardian of his father's property and responsible for his charges, so every one of you is a guardian and responsible for his charges. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, if somebody fights, or beats somebody, then he should avoid the face. Narrated Awah, that Aisha told him that Brera came to seek her help in her writing of emancipation, for a certain sum, and that time she had not paid anything of it. Aisha said to her, go back to your masters, and if they agree that I will pay the amount of your writing of emancipation and get your wallah, I will do so. Brera informed her masters of that, but they refused and said, if she, that is Aisha, is seeking Allah's reward, then she can do so, but your wallah will be for us. Aisha mentioned that to Allah's Apostle, who said to her, manumit her, as the wallah is for the liberator. Allah's Apostle then got up and said, what about the people who stipulate conditions which are not present in Allah's laws? Whoever imposes conditions which are not present in Allah's laws, then those conditions will be invalid, even if he imposed these conditions 100 times. Allah's conditions, laws, are the truth and are more solid. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, Aisha wanted to buy a slave girl in order to manumit her. The girl's masters stipulated that her wallah would be for them. Allah's Apostle said, to Aisha, what they stipulate should not stop you, for the wallah is for the liberator. Narrated Aisha, Barera came to Aisha, and said, I have made a contract of emancipation with my masters for 9 uqiyas of gold, to be paid in yearly installments. Therefore, I seek your help. Aisha said, if your masters agree, I will pay them the sum at once and free you on condition that your wallah will be for me. Barera went to her masters, but they refused that offer. She came back, and said, I presented to them the offer, but they refused, unless their wallah was for them. Allah's Apostle heard of that and asked me about it, and I told him about it. On that he said, buy an manumita and stipulate that the wallah should be for you, as wallah is for the liberator. Aisha added, Allah's Apostle then got up amongst the people, glorified and praised Allah, and said, then after, what about some people who impose conditions which are not present in Allah's laws? So, any condition which is not present in Allah's laws is invalid even if they were 100 conditions. Allah's ordinance is the truth, and Allah's condition is stronger and more solid. Why do some men from you say, oh so-and-so, manumit the slave but the wallah will be for me? Verily, the wallah is for the liberator. Narrated Amr bint Abdurrahman, Barera went to Aisha, the mother of the faithful believers, to seek her help in her emancipation. Aisha said to her, if your masters agree, I will pay them your price in a lump sum and manumit you. Barera mentioned that offer to her masters, but they refused to sell her unless the wallah was for them. Aisha told Allah's Apostle about it. He said, buy an manumit her as the wallah is for the liberator. Narrated Abdul Wahid bin Ayman, I went to Aisha and said, I was the slave of Utbah bin Abu Lahab. Utbah died and his sons became my masters who sold me to Ibn Abu Amr who manumitted me. The sons of Utbah stipulated that my wala should be for them. Aisha said, Barira came to me and she was given the writing of emancipation by her masters and she asked me to buy and manumit her. I agreed to it. But Barira told me that her masters would not sell her unless her wala was for them. Aisha said, I am not in need of that. When the Prophet heard that, or he was told about it, he asked Aisha about it. Aisha mentioned what Barira had told her. The Prophet said, buy and manumit her and let them stipulate whatever they like. So, Aisha bought and manumitted her and her masters stipulated that her wala should be for them. The Prophet said, the wala will be for the liberator even if they stipulated 100 conditions.